Welcome to today's episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. My name is Adam Brsan.
And I'm Chris Smith.
If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And if you love this podcast, don't forget to share it with a friend or colleague. We greatly appreciate your help and support.
Leave August's trash behind. The summer is finished, and it's time to really focus on what you intend to do this fall. Because success isn't going to happen accidentally. And I can tell you what, Adam put together a pretty solid week. Is on with me live today, and I'm excited to hear what sales concepts he has to share. Adam, I can see you. Hopefully you can hear me. What you got to share with us in the middle half of today's call?
Yeah, morning, Chris. Pretty good week. I always set my goals pretty high, especially if I see other people in our group that are setting high goals. If they can do it, I can do it too. So, I think one of our guys set like a $7,000 goal for the week, and just seeing that, I don't want to set a goal any smaller than that. Heck, if he has the confidence to go out and write 7,000 in premium, I have that same kind of confidence built up that I can do it too. So I set a $7,000 goal for the week. And again, I'm only out 3 days, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I didn't hit the 7,000 for the week, but it was still a productive week. So I'm just going to kind of run through some of the experiences that I had. And I think some pretty good situations, honestly, that I think will definitely help a lot of you on the call, hopefully. The first sale that I made, it was a appointment that was set through our appointment setting team. And it was a lead that was probably about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 months old. And someone had actually already been by to see the guy. And I don't know, they must have just caught him at a bad time or something. He was kind of right away when I got there, he was kind of guarded, was kind of ticked off, really, like didn't really have a good mindset or a good attitude about sitting with me. And I was able to just kind of calm the guy down, started talking a little bit about what we do and how this is important. Talked a little bit about my experience in the business, that I've been doing this for a long time. And, we really do try our best to put people in the best plans out there that are available. And I mean, he could see just kind of through how I was acting and talking to him that I really did care about his situation and the fact that he did need this. And I think that really makes a big difference. He did mention the other person that had come by was almost maybe a little nervous. He said they might've just been nervous, but because they didn't seem very confident. He said I don't know. I just didn't feel right about it. I didn't feel confident in moving forward with anything. He said, I almost didn't even know if it was legit, because whoever came by and was talking to me, they weren't very confident. They were nervous. So that's something, I mean, whether you're new or you've been in this business a long time, you got to have that confidence. You got to walk in kind of with the mindset of knowing that you're going to be there to do business today. And you can't like trip over your words. You got to be prepared. If you got to practice, if you got to work on a presentation with somebody before going out, great. And if, you know what? And if you're nervous and you've been doing it a while, you're not doing it enough, because I mean, it gets to the point where this is really second nature. It's like, it's easy. I show up and I mean, I'm so confident. So that really helped. And the guy, he was still a little hesitant. I was still able to push him to move forward. And he ended up taking out, I think it was like 20 or 25,000. It was a good sale. It was, I think, right around $100 a month, 80, 90, 100, something like that. So it was a pretty decent sale. From there, I didn't have a whole lot of appointments set. I have so many leads already. And what I ended up doing was, I ended up just putting a route together, door knocking some leads. And I mean, I was out pretty much all afternoon, not a whole lot of success. Didn't really catch anybody at home. It was probably about maybe close to 7 o'clock at night, I bet. And I got another lead. I'm knocking on the door. Nobody's coming to the door, but I heard people talking in the backyard. So I walked around to the back. They had like a little gate, like a little fence, and I just peeked around and I just said, "Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing?" And just started talking. And the guy came over to me. I told him who I was and why I was there, and I showed him the card that was filled out. That was actually a lead card for his mother, who was 84 years old. And I told him, yeah, this was about the pertaining to the Social Security death benefits and the final expense program that is available to cover funeral and burial and all those things. And he said, well, it's a little too late. My mom was actually in the hospital a couple weeks ago, and now she's in hospice. He said they found out that she's got like stage 4 cancer. There's nothing that they can do for her, and she's pretty much on her way out. And I said, wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. I wish I could have done something to help, but at this point, yeah, you're right. It's a little too late. I said, but it's not too late for you. Uh, how are you set up? Do you have any coverage for yourself? Because I'm sure just based on what you're going through right now, you can see the importance of why you don't want to wait. You waited too long for your mother and now you can't do anything. So you want to make sure you have something for yourself. And he said, yeah, I have some health conditions and this and that. And it's something that I've also been putting off. And he was there with his sister. We ended up all going inside and sitting down, and I ended up writing a policy on him. And he did have some health issues. I ended up writing him the American Amicable Platinum product, which is nice because it does have like the funeral planning services involved with the Everest. Another reason I liked writing that because it was a return of premium. They call it return of premium. A lot of carriers, it would just be considered modified. One thing that some of you may not know, that the American Amicable Platinum product, if you write it, the return of premium, they do not reduce your commission, where pretty much any other company, any other product out there, if you're writing a modified policy, you're going to be taking a haircut on your commission. But with the return of premium on the platinum solution or platinum legacy products, they do not cut your commission. So if the price is pretty comparable to the others, I figure why not? Not only that, I'm able to add that value with the Everest to make up for the difference. It's going to end up saving the family some money in the long run. And I'm not going to take a dip in my commission. So it was a win-win for all parties involved. So ended up writing that one. It was a long appointment, honestly. They were kind of a bit of talkers. And I didn't get out of there till after 9 o'clock at night. So yeah, it was late, got home about 10 o'clock. The next day on Wednesday, unfortunately, I didn't end up with anything. It was a long day, had a few appointments, just couldn't get anywhere with anybody. I also, I don't know, I think I was just tired too from the day before. It was a long day. I was out there all day, and I think maybe was getting to me a little bit. I still stayed out, but just didn't really have a whole lot of success, unfortunately, on Wednesday. But then I was back at it yesterday. And yesterday, my first appointment was actually an old Facebook lead. So that was something I was very happy to see. The appointment setters, they set me up an appointment on a lead that was like from last November or December. I looked back because it was actually an appointment that they had set previously, and I was not able to get in touch with this person. I'd shown up. It was like a no-show. I remember calling the lady, and at the time she was in the process of moving and just had a lot going on. But fortunately, the appointment setters, they got back and they called some of my older leads. I think some of my newer leads, they were just kind of getting to the point where they weren't getting anywhere with them. So they decided to call some of the older ones. And I was happy to see that. So, went in on a lead that was like from last November, and I wrote it up, and it was like $66 a month. It was a pretty good sale as well. And with an immediate death benefit. And then the rest of my day yesterday, I didn't really have many appointments set. I had one other appointment at what was it, like 4 o'clock. So in the meantime, well, I got back to my car from that first appointment and I was putting a route together. And while I was putting my route together, my phone rang, and it was a client of mine that this guy's had policies with me for probably like 10 years. And he said, "Hey, Adam, how you doing? I thought about maybe upping my insurance. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Well, sure. I'd be happy to help. You can never really have too much." And this guy's got quite a few policies. He's a good guy. He's definitely looking out for his family, not only to cover his funeral, but just wanting to make sure that he leaves behind at least a little something for them. He's just a good caring guy, honestly. And he could be doing much other things with his money, but he's looking out for his family after he passes away. So and I ended up writing another policy on him. It was a $12,000 policy for like $90 a month. And I wrote it right there over the phone. I already know the guy. The process was easy. I was on and off the phone with him in 30 minutes and we got the application done. So that was like a freebie to me. Like that was pretty cool to get that $90 sale while I was just sitting in my car putting my route together. So then, I hit a few more leads, didn't get anywhere, and then I had another appointment, and that appointment was a Facebook lead, a new lead. It was actually a toolkit lead, and I knew going in that it was going to be a sale. Uh, One thing that was pretty cool on these toolkit leads is that, well, you provide your phone number, and I think one of the call to actions on the ad is that they can actually contact the agent right away. And last Friday, actually, I got a call. I saw my phone ring. I picked it up, and it was the Facebook lead. So the lady had seen the ad, and she called right off the ad. And I tried to get in there like that day. I was like, "Well, I could just come by right now." And she's like, "Well, unfortunately, I'm actually sick right now. My son is sick. I got court on Monday, so we're gonna have to make it like later next week." I said, "All right." So we ended up setting it for yesterday at 4 o'clock. And she did have some health issues. She was 79 years old. She just lost a policy because it was a policy where she was misinformed, I guess you could say. She thought it was a whole life policy. It wasn't. She was making her monthly payments, and then suddenly she got a notice that her premium was going up about 4 times. So it was going from like, I think she said it was going from like $60 a month to like over $200 a month, and she just couldn't handle it. So she ended up losing that policy. Fortunately, I was able to get her a new policy with an immediate death benefit, and I wrote her 12,000 in coverage at her age for like $125 a month, and she was happy. Like I said, she was 79 years old. She had a $25,000 policy, so I mean her insurance was kind of cut in half, but she was okay with that. She just wanted to make sure that she had enough to cover her funeral expenses and maybe leave a little bit to her family. And it was just a cremation policies, or that's what she was looking for to do with that. So, uh, and then the last stop I had yesterday, it was an appointment that was also set by the appointment setters. And it's something where I really feel like I don't care if you're like spiritual or not, but like I really felt like God was like looking out for my client in this situation. It was a lead that was a direct mail lead that it was actually probably 4 or 5 months old. It was like an aged lead that I came across, and it actually was a policy holder of mine, of a policy that I wrote 18 years ago. This lady has 3 policies with me with a company that I don't even do business with anymore. And so I showed up and I was just like, "Hey, remember me?" And she was like, "No." I'm like, "Adam, I'm your insurance agent. Like you've had insurance with me for like 18 years. You took out your first policy with me when I was like 24 years old." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I think I remember you." She goes, "What company are they with? I want to make sure it's you." And I told her. She was like, "Yeah, okay, that's you. All right, just making sure." She said, "Yeah, that was a long time ago. You probably looked a little bit different back then." So anyways, we sit down and she goes, "Yeah, I had some issues with my bank, and And I've actually been getting some notices from the insurance company. And I think my policy might be at risk of lapsing. And, uh, and so we sat down and I said, well, why don't we just call in to see exactly what's going on with your policy and that? And we called in. She asked if it was all right if I spoke with them as well, and they were like, sure. They just wanted to make sure too that my client didn't care, and my client just knew I was there to help her. So she's like, no, sure, you can talk to Adam. So we're going through things, and her policies actually, she was like 3 months behind, and they were going to lapse. And and had I not shown up there and gone through this with her, she would have let them lapse, because in the meantime, she just took out a new policy with Colonial Penn because she felt like her other policies, they were probably gone, nothing she was going to be able to do about it. There was some cash value in her policies. I was able to have them use like 3 months of cash value to make her payments back current. And then that way she didn't lose her policy. And then we were able to get her set back up on the bank draft. I did find out though that she had taken some loans on those policies. So she had like 30,000 in coverage. Now she had about 23,000 in coverage. She's actually going to get like a breakdown of the loans and the interest. I told her you at least need to set up where you're paying back a little bit more each month, so those policies don't continue to deplete, because that's what's going to happen. They're going to keep hitting you with interest on those loans. Because she told me she'd only taken like maybe a total of like 3,000 in value out of those policies, but because she hadn't been making any payments towards it, the policies were continuing to decrease. So I'm actually going to be going back there next week to kind of figure out the best route to go after that. I told her, if anything, I could help her with maybe like a $7,000 policy to make up for the difference, because right now she doesn't have the 30,000 that she had. And it would take a real long time for her to pay that back to get back to the 30,000. So, because I think like I said, she owes about 7,000 on those policies. So, but like I said, I kind of felt like God was looking out for my client, because what are the chances of a lead that's like 4 or 5 months old being called at the time that her policy's lapse, and with an appointment being set with the agent myself that originally wrote the thing 18 years ago to go by to help her to make sure that her policy didn't lapse. So it was, I even told her, I said, boy, I think God is really looking out for you. And she said, yeah, I think so. I think he sent you to me here today. And I said, I agree. So that was really the conclusion to my day. I was real happy to be able to help my client that had that coverage for so long. And, I felt good about it. Didn't do any additional business with her yet, but I mean, I know I'm going to get a lot more business out of that house because of the fact that I was able to help her and save those policies that she'd been putting thousands of dollars in over the last 18 years. So that's about all I got for now, Chris.
Preparation equals confidence. You got to be prepared. You got to practice your presentation. You got to get yourself in front of 100 people when you're new as soon as possible. Practice equals confidence. Nervousness is oftentimes a lack of preparation. And remember, you're selling something that these people need. You're selling something that these people are going to use. You're selling a very valuable product that's going to change the generational outcome of the decision that's made in that home. Don't be afraid to door knock digital leads. That's another point I have written down from what he said. Digital leads are harder to get on the phone, but they're still going to set them. But you should expect to door knock them a little bit harder. And one of the most powerful things I ever saw on appointment setting is the appointment setters are going to set appointments for you on leads you have given up on so long ago. 3, 4, 6, 12, 18 months ago. They're going to keep dialing through those until that person tells them no. And sometimes you're going to get appointments you would have never find. And that absolutely makes appointment setting, no matter who is setting the appointments for you, worth the money.
And this concludes another episode of the Insurance, Life, and Everything in Between podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, share with a friend or colleague. And if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, please leave those too. Any input is greatly appreciated. Thank you.